YouTube, Karima here. This video is going to be about what should be in NBA 2K22. Now, of course, as my 2K lovers may know, my 2K players out there probably know, 2K22 released today. So today was the release date of NBA 2K22. So shout out to all my 2K lovers and happy 2K day to everyone out there. And as I just stated again, this video is going to be about NBA 2K22 and just basically what I think should be in the NBA 2K video game. And as I just stated, of course, NBA 2K22 has already released already, right? So this is not a video basically, explaining, what should be in it as if the video game has not already come out already. So the video game is complete. So there's really nothing that I can say, toward, there's really no changes that can be made toward, certainly no major adjustments can be made toward the gameplay at this point. Or even if I wanted there changes to be made, of course I would really have no formal say-so on that because I haven't played NBA 2K22 yet. So I just received my order for 2K22 today. And just a little fun fact, I did not pre-order it like many others did. I sometimes just like to wait on the release day and just enjoy, everybody else's photos and videos, and I like to just order it the day of. So that's what I did today when I woke up this morning. I got straight out of bed and I ordered NBA 2K22, and after that I waited for it. I clicked on the same day delivery option, of course. So I waited for it to deliver to my apartment, of course. And I got my copy of NBA 2K22 right on the spot today. So it's the same thing as doing a pre-order. So I cannot wait. I'm eager to play NBA 2K22, and especially after playing NBA 2K21 Next Gen, and which is the next thing that I was going to say. I've been playing NBA 2K21 Next Gen nonstop, faithfully, basically since it released back when I got it. So the 2K21 edition of the NBA 2K franchise was, to me, in my personal humble opinion, I thought that it was one of the best 2Ks ever in terms of the advanced gameplay, the animations, and the MyCareer story as well was something that was just really good in NBA 2K21. And then of course, at the end of the day, what also was a really good aspect of this year's or last year's NBA 2K, now last year's NBA 2K video game was the introduction of the city into the NBA 2K21 next gen video game. So, and also the G League route, the introduction into the G League route. Of course, in NBA 2K21, you instead of just choosing the traditional college route, you also had the option of going to the G League. So I thought that was something that was extremely interesting, and the gameplay and the storyline there and the characters were outstanding. So I truly enjoyed NBA 2K21. And again, that's just to say now that I truly am looking forward to NBA 2K21 and what, the next generation of 2K video games are going to look like, specifically now because they are out now on the new next-gen console. And it's always, as usual, 2K does a wonderful job, 2K and Visual Concepts, they always do a wonderful job of putting together these cool MyCareer stories and these cool game modes and regular updates to the game that makes 2K a truly special video game and the special video game that it is today, and what makes millions and billions of people around the world want to wait in line and buy the game and pre-order and spend their hard-earned money on the NBA 2K video game, which is what I did today, and I am so proud and so very much so looking forward to playing NBA 2K22. Now, with that being said, and also a side note before I get into my video, I do want to point out I am in love with the cover of NBA 2K22, by the way. I love the addition of the three superstars on the same cover, and I like the mural-like artwork on the cover of NBA 2K22. The legend, the NBA 75th anniversary edition, special edition, of NBA 2K22 with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dirk Nowitzki, and of course KD, Kevin Durant, on the cover of NBA 2K22. So it's a really cool and interesting interesting video game. And I also like, shout out to Luka Doncic, who's on the cover of the standard edition of NBA 2K22. I really like his edition also. And last but not least, of course, WNBA superstar Candace Parker. She's on the cover of NBA 2K22 as well, a special 25th anniversary edition of the WNBA. So she's on the cover of NBA 2K22 as well. And in the cover, I just want to let you all know, YouTube, I did get the 75th anniversary edition of the 2K22. So it's something that I am looking forward to playing, and I'm actually going to play it right after I make this video, right after this video. And so yes, I have not opened it yet. I didn't want it delivered. I've been so busy all day. I just want to, after this video, I just want to kind of relax, take a bath, and I want to play NBA 2K22 all night long, basically. So that is basically what I'm going to do with my life. Now, on to more interesting and more unique news. This video now is, with all that being said, this video, as I said in the beginning, is about what I think should be an NBA 2K22 or even NBA 2K in the near future as an entire video game. And what I mean by that is basically this video is going to be, just a breakdown sort of some ideas and some suggestions that I think 2K, should use in order to improve or upgrade, further improve the NBA 2K franchise. As I was saying, NBA 2K is an important video. It's an important video game. It's an extremely it's a cultural event even when 2K drops, when the NBA 2K drops, and it has been for a long time now, for nearly a decade now. So I think NBA 2K is just, and of course the franchise has been running longer than that. So NBA 2K, it has been around for a long time, and all of the new advancements now that comes with this generation's editions of the video game. It's just an amazing thing to watch unfold. And in continuing to watch that unfold, with that being said, I do have ideas in terms of what can be done or what I think should be in the video game specifically, in terms of the MyCareer story mode, the gameplay, the different game modes too, the city and the park area of 2K, of course, the online portion, which everyone loves, where you can go online and play against the different MyPlayers. In the park and the city. Of course, it's called the neighborhood on the current gen system still, but of course it's called the city on the next gen console now, which they introduced last year in NBA 2K21. So that is what I'm going to be talking about in this video today. And while we're at it, why not get started? So one of my very favorite, and not, I shouldn't say but my absolute favorite game mode in NBA 2K is the MyCareer game mode. And don't get me wrong, that's not to say that the other game modes in NBA 2K are not good game modes. I thoroughly enjoyed the My NBA experience. I love the ability to choose a basketball team, an NBA team, and run through an entire season. To be honest, without the story, without the cutscenes, it's just a regular NBA season mode. You can customize the rosters. You can do a whole lot in the My NBA mode, and it just reminds you of a real classic, kind of cool and laid back, NBA basketball game. So that's what I do love about the other game modes as well. I like the city portion of which is connected to MyCareer. I like the city online portion where you can go online and play against the other MyPlayers around the city and park games, and you can rep up and you can buy cool gear and you can gear up and listen to cool music and all that good stuff. So I enjoy doing all of that. I also like my team as well. And just the game in general. Of course, MyCareer doesn't even merely scratch the surface of all of what the video game NBA 2K has to offer. But however, with that being said, there is a real specialty and a uniqueness to the MyCareer story mode in NBA, especially in NBA 2K. NBA 2K's MyCareer is really, I can even say from experience, and it's unlike anything you will experience, in your video game life probably. It truly is one of the most, extravagant, well thought out season modes, story modes in video game history. I think, and I say that with respect, you know, and this is why I believe that it can still continue to improve, and there can be adjustments made which would make my career even better. So first thing, one thing that I would desire to have in terms of the My Career Story mode in NBA 2K is a longer My Career mode. The My Career season, like as I was just saying, the My Career mode in 2K is almost nearly perfect. 2K comes up with these, they come up with these storylines and these characters, these dynamic characters every year, and there's a different story every year where, you basically, you take a rookie and you take him through this journey on, in his NBA journey on his path to ultimately making it into the NBA. And then what always gets me and what I love about the My Career situation, My Career mode, is that once you make it to the NBA, the story doesn't stop there. You do really continue on this unique journey into the NBA. You have to play a full season of the NBA, and then you can continue to play different seasons. You can request a trade to another team, just like in real life. In the NBA, you can play for whatever team. You can choose a team that you choose to be drafted to, that you can work out for. And I just love the idea of even incorporating now the NBA into the rookie mode. It's not really even a generic type of even story mode, where you are a rookie. You do travel from high school. You play high school games. You choose a college. Then you play college. You get the opportunity to play college basketball for a real life college basketball program, such as the Gonzaga Bulldogs. So you get to play for a ton of different Michigan. You get to play for a bunch of different real life college basketball teams, and you get to earn endorsements like real life NBA players, professional basketball players do in real life, like the ball players do. So it's a really cool video game, and then of course at the end of it all, to cap it all off, the ultimate goal is to then make it to the NBA draft so you can get drafted into the NBA. So the My Career mode is really interesting, and as I said, it's a thing where every year there's something different. And I will say this, that brings me to my point. One of the very best My Career storylines to me was the Spike Lee edition of NBA 2K. And of course, that was in NBA 2K16. Spike Lee's Living the Dream. That was centered around, of course, frequency, good old frequency, So Freak was this basketball phenom, and who had a family, his mom and his dad and his sister, and it was him, his sister's mom and his dad, and his girlfriend, and then he had this friend, of course, which became which took up a lot of time in the story, which took up a large portion of the story, his friend Vic. And Spike Lee really, in terms of the drama and the whole cinematic experience of it, Spike Lee, of course, being the filmmaker that he is, the legendary and inspirational filmmaker that he is, he created this entire experience where this really dramatic storyline, where Vic was, he grew jealous of frequency, and he became this big distraction in the NBA baller's life. So Spike Lee was able to create this character with this really unique storyline that I think is even relatable and it's dramatized in a way, and it's also cinematic, and it's just interesting and unique. So the whole fullness of that story, of the Living the Dream year in 2K, Spike Lee's edition of the My Career story mode was really, Spike Lee's My Career was really something interesting and something to admire. And drawing from that now, 2K has done a good job, especially in recent years, of trying to follow that path. And that's probably even why they took on, a filmmaker like Spike Lee in order, to write and direct one of their films. Of course, they got LeBron James, even, LeBron James, big pro basketball player, King James, to direct and produce one of the year's 2K stories, and which was really a big deal. LeBron James and his production company. So I really think that was a big deal as well. And as I was saying, 2K has done a good job of following the kind of storyline of the drama and the cinematic aspects of it. However, this is what brings me to my point. What I want to see though with my career modes, and this time without the help of Spike Lee, without the help of LeBron James, I would like to see 2K, which 2K already does a really very good job of. We have had dynamic characters in the past, as I was saying. We've had DJs, who former DJs who quit their DJing gigs to become professional basketball players. It didn't work out, so they became basketball players. We've had overseas ballers over in Shanghai. We've had G League superstars, especially more recently in the NBA with the introduction of the G League in NBA 2K21 next gen. So we've had some really dynamic characters and put in some really dynamic circumstances and situations where they had to make really dire decisions on their path on their journey to the NBA. But however, that brings me to my point. What I would like to see done now, and that's just all to say that, and this is why I would like to see this. I would like to have a longer my career. In a way, 2K users, kind of like myself, 2K players are extremely, spoiled. Don't get me wrong, 2K, as I said at the beginning, is nearly perfect, especially, given the different game modes and the graphics, especially the graphics and the advanced graphics and the gameplay and the animations and all the different things you can do in the city and the park and the neighborhood and the game in general, especially in terms of my career. So I mean, we are really extremely spoiled. So it seems like a minor thing. It seems like a spoiled thing, but to me, it's also a very important and big thing, and it can become important. And this time, what I mean by longer my career, I mean not just in terms of length and time, but I mean it would be important to have my career where and I'm basing this off of, for example, the face of the franchise mode in Madden. In the football game Madden. So Madden's face of the franchise mode, for example, there's this big, they have a big dramatic, drawn-out story as well. And when I say big and dramatic, I mean big and dramatic. The Madden face of the franchise mode, don't get me wrong, is not to be downplayed. And this is not a comparison video, but for example, I'm just using face of the franchise as an example. Face of the franchise mode is, it's literally like a 2.5, even 3 to 4 hour story where you take a rookie there and you start out in high school. You even flash back to childhood aspects where you have to make these decisions and different ideas and different decisions in different situations. So they use flashback really well. Excuse me. In Madden's face of the franchise and which is something 2K is really good at also in telling stories. But what I do like about Face of the Franchise mode, though, is just the overall drama and the cinematic aspect of it. They really do take their time in a sense, and not even in a sense, more than in a sense, but they do really take their time in crafting their story, their own version of my career in a sense, their own version of a story, taking their rookies and taking them on a football and their way to the NFL. And what I like about the drama specifically in Face of the Franchise is that it is a really long, drawn-out story, and it's much longer and drawn out and cinematic than even NBA 2K's illustrious My Career story mode. And again, that's not to downplay NBA 2K's My Career. That's not a comparison. NBA 2K My Career is good enough where it can hold its own still. Without mentioning Madden's face of the franchise. But for example, back to my point, I think that 2K can learn a lot from the other season modes and other video games. Especially Madden's face of the franchise mode, and with that being said, that's just to say I do like the characters that 2K and visual concepts in the gameplay and the ideas that in the stories that 2K comes up with, but it should be expounded on a little bit more. Like for example, I would love a My Career in 2K where you do take a high school player and like in Madden, you make him run through these drills in high school, and there's more cutscenes, there's more dialogue in it, where you go through college and there's more, where you even, maybe you capture him on cameras even. And that's captured on 2K, but to me, not even enough. There should be more, there should be a really, really advanced and well planned out cutscene, where even a guy is walking to class, maybe do a student athlete day in a life type situation with the characters in 2K. And 2K has had a lot of chances and a lot of video games to work with up until this point to kind of like create that even student athlete type vibe, going through the high school and college and then eventually trying to make it to college. And that's just to say also it doesn't always have to be the same structure, which, it is in NBA 2K, and to me sometimes it gets repetitive. So to me, it would be a good idea to to make this a thing where we just even we don't make it so structured where you just play, you get to high school, you have to play these high school games, then you skip through college, then you have to play these college games, and then you skip through, then you go through, and then you go to college, then you make it to the NBA draft, and now voila, you're at the NBA. And then in recent years, even then you make it to the NBA, and then cutscenes have been completely cut out of the entirety of the situation. And especially 2K21, current gen, I just found that to be so off-putting. And even though I love 2K, I love NBA 2K, I love and adore NBA 2K, but I absolutely cannot agree with the fact that sometimes, especially like I said, in the recent video games, even they put out the cutscenes in the season mode, and in 2K21 Next Gen, they just so happened to bring certain cutscenes back, and they were really advanced cutscenes as well. So I will give 2K their props and their credit on that. So big ups to 2K on the Next Gen, what they were able to do with creating that video game, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. But my thing with 2K though is that, sorry, my computer was kind of messed up. But anyway, my thing with I'm back. YouTube. I'm back. My thing with 2K though is that they do this thing where it does seem repetitive and it's structured. You go through the high school, you go through college, and then it's the ultimate goal of making it to the NBA draft. What you don't really get, and again, don't get me wrong, that is the sense maybe that they want you to have. You really do want to create these NBA ballers, perhaps even for people who prefer to play the city, the online park situation. They probably don't want to go through, a whole drawn out story. They probably do want to, play NBA MyCareer games. They want to get to the NBA. But here's the thing: when you get to the NBA, there's also cutscenes, where the cutscenes are cut out. So what is the big hoopla when you make it there and then you don't have enough cutscenes? So I do think that there should two things. There should, for one, be a better long drawn out story in the near future for especially for this next gen console. I think that they should really take after face of the franchise now in that regard, Madden face of the franchise, and making a better, long, and more cinematic experience in terms of the MyCareer story. And then, of course, my second thing is that they should put cutscenes back into the NBA MyCareer mode. And again, as I was saying at the beginning, it could seem like a minor thing, but for me, it would really enhance the aspect of MyCareer. And again, when I say longer MyCareer, I don't mean just in length and time, but even in that regard, right? NBA 2K21 Next Gen, for example, the total runtime of the story was about an hour and a half. Or I want to say even current gen was about an hour and a half, and then Next Gen with the G League, of course, which had very much so better cutscenes and more updated cutscenes, and even more they updated the cutscenes. They did import cutscenes into the NBA season mode once you start the NBA, unlike NBA current gen. But for example, even that still, it was just a short kind of rush through. It seemed swift even. It was a swift rush through, G League experience where you played the G League, the 10 G League games, when you finally, if you choose it, of course, given that you choose the G League route, if you choose the college route, then it's the thing where you go to college and of course you meet Ellie and you meet your friend Red, and you go through college. But the thing with the G League route, though, is of course you get the experience of meeting those cool characters, all the former characters that have been in 2K in past seasons. You get to play on a team on a G League team with them, and you get to run in a G League experience with them. So I think that was a really cool thing that they incorporated in this year's 2K. But however, for example, it was kind of even, and it's even the way the cutscenes are filmed. Instead of making it this cinematic story that is cohesive and well put together, and not saying that 2K's MyCareer is not cohesive, it's definitely understandable and relatable even. You understand the story. Like, for example, in 2K21, the Long Shadow, it was definitely understood that there was this, this high school kid who had to live up to the ideas and standards of his dad, that he was, he has to live under the shadow of his father, and his father even was this big high school star they made him. So I really did enjoy that aspect of it. And of course, that character was played by Jesse Williams. So I think it's a really cool thing to have characters and to have a storyline like that. But for example, think about it this way. With such a story like that, wouldn't you want to see a more dramatic and more cinematic experience versus even, to be honest, we're going to import a cutscene, then you play a game. then you go to a cutscene, you play a game, play a cutscene, play a game. I personally rather, I mean, I like the switch off between the two of them, but then sometimes I think it would even make sense if, or even if 2K wanted to do their own thing where they tell the story first and then you play all the high school games together, because sometimes that's what it kind of seems like anyway, is what I'm saying. You know, they do 2K, and to 2K's credit, it's a basketball game, right? And one of the very best basketball games to ever, exist in history. So I think 2K does a great job of even, to be honest, they do even do a good job of intertwining the storytelling aspects and the cinematic aspects and story mode aspects into a gaming experience. So you don't just have the story either without having to play the high school games, for example, and learning the buttons and learning how to play the video game practically so that you can, basically, dominate when you go into the park. So I do admire that aspect about 2K, and that's one thing 2K has always been known for is their emphasis on the basketball part of things. But however, I do feel like though sometimes it is kind of confusing though, because then the storylines are so good. The characters in the MyCareer stories are so good. So I would like to see a more advanced MyCareer mode where even you can there's just it's more expanded on, it's more expounded upon, where you can play you play the MyCareer story mode and then you go into these games. And of course, even in the games, there should be cutscenes, more cutscenes, even before the games or after the games. I think it should just keep. To be honest, I don't like the idea of having to well, I'm not saying that's not that big of a deal. The main menu setting part, where you come from a cutscene and you can, say either, you can play your high school game or college game, or you can choose to save the game or quit it and lie down and play it tomorrow morning. I understand that aspect of it, but here's the thing, and 2K is a really advanced video game in that regard. But here's the thing about that. And which actually, to my point here, it is very different from Madden's Face of the Franchise mode. Whereas if you want to quit that game, you can just click the button and say, "Hey, I want to save and quit now." They don't take you back to the main menu. You have to take yourself back to the main menu. And so to me, that type of story mode just flows better. See, that method flows better versus 2K's. They show you a cutscene, then they take you to the high school game. And of course, when you go to the high school game, there is a cutscene here and there. But even there, I mean, you do play this, of course, there's a cutscene even after and before. So I do love 2K's MyCareer, and I always have, and I always will. But here's the thing with that. Again, versus 2K, 2K versus Madden. Madden story mode. And Madden, it just flows, and they don't take you back to the main menu. Versus 2K, they do kind of interrupt you with the high school game. And you can choose, of course, to skip the prelude. You can skip that, and you can make it to the NBA. But here's the thing with that even also. I have a problem also with draft night. I mean, I feel like NBA draft night is a cool thing to even have. Do not get me wrong, 2K does kind of make it cinematic. They do it as short as it is and swift as it seems. When your name is called, they do make it seem like a big deal basically. But what I would like to see done even with the NBA draft night, the draft cutscene, should be a little bit more dramatic to me. It should be more cinematic. I feel like, and I think even they can draw from Spike Lee's NBA 2K story with this. With this idea. I feel like on draft night, maybe the player, instead of sitting there with his agent, he can sit there with his agent, but he can also be sitting there with his family. He can sit there with his girlfriend. There should have been, especially in 2K21 next gen and current gen. By the way, I feel like last year's character, Junior, he could have really been, sitting there with his family, and he could have been crying tears of joy. There could have been a thing, or even with the whole storyline with Hendrix Cobb and his best friend, where they were drafted back to back in NBA 2K21. It would have been cool if, like a lot of you said, it would have been cool if they weren't drafted back to back. But to me, that was neither here nor there. I actually did enjoy the storyline of them being drafted to the same team because, I thought I was expecting some type of rivalry. And even to that point, they could have really even expounded on the Hendrix Cobb storyline a little bit in this year's MyCareer. So that's a perfect example of that. So those are just a little bit more examples of what I'm saying. And of course, that points back to, what I was saying about even incorporating cutscenes back into the NBA MyCareer story mode. For some reason, in recent years, like I said, they started taking them out. And don't get me wrong, I do kind of sort of agree with 2K in terms of with their focus on basketball. Like for example, maybe they cut back on cutscenes because they wanted to focus on other game modes such as My Team, My NBA, of course the city, the introduction of the city, the park experience. which a lot of users, of course, at the end of all of the MyCareer stuff, that's the ultimate goal also, is to make it into the park and play these games. So that is a huge thing about it also. But again, all in all, I just can't imagine again a MyCareer without a season mode where you have cutscenes. And what I mean by cutscenes now is, even it would be cool if, and you can even bring the city into this, of course. It would be cool if, even, after games you can go play pool or something. You can have game night back at my court or something with the opposing team players, with friends of with friends of your teams. You can show you can show the team boarding the bus, the plane, to go back to the hotel or something. Something which, even, to be honest, even it would benefit 2K more to even do something like that, because 2K so heavily focuses, and they focus on the lifestyle of the NBA baller. So I think having these small cutscenes and these generic cutscenes really, don't work for 2K. For example, and what I mean by generic is that, of course they have the post-game interviews that they brought back in the NBA 2K21 next gen, which are always thorough, and they, you can shout out your endorsement deals and all that in your post-game interviews. And those are always fun. They were fun this year, especially in 2K21 next gen. But for example, beyond that, I wanted to see more in terms of even pre-game, or, in terms of like an actual cutscene. Where was the girlfriend? What happened to getting a new girl? I think this year, even in terms of the girlfriend storyline, which is always a big thing, a part of the NBA 2K experience, they always give the baller a girlfriend, if you notice that. So it was just a cool thing. And of course, the luxury house, and his mom and his dad, or his family, and his friends, and he always has a friend or something. So I think it'd be cool, and of course they do. So I think it'd be cool to have an experience where, it doesn't just stop there, especially after the heartbreak. And if you play the NBA 2K21 this year, he didn't stay with Ellie, so she left for soccer. So I feel like once you make it to the NBA, you should even keep the aspect of the girlfriend. I think they should continue on with the story mode. And then, of course, now we're talking. At some point, I guess you would have to cut it off, because you do have to play those games. You do have to earn your virtual currency, and you do want to go to the city now and play the game for what it is. As a really good basketball video game, and which 2K is very good at that also. So it's not so much always about the MyCareer story. But again, at the same time, as it pertains to specifically that first year, even where you're still a rookie, that first season especially, there still could be some type of cutscene. Even aside from the practice days, it would be cool if there was a scene where the MyPlayer you just took them on this entire NBA journey the entire way through until they win a championship even. And even after they win a championship, So and of course 2K, now we're talking, they don't completely cut out cutscenes. They do still have those cutscenes. For example, if you win a championship, they should show you winning a championship. If you win Rookie of the Year, they do, especially in 2K21 Next Gen, they do give you the award, of course, and you get to react to it and respond to it. But even that is just in the this post game press conference. I feel like there should be something else different every single year. And even if 2K is going to keep the same concept, well, for one thing, why not be different? But then also, it would be a cool thing if they did even keep the same concept, but it was just more drawn out, better cutscenes. So that is just my personal take on the MyCareer experience in NBA 2K, which again is my absolute favorite aspect of 2K. And I think, for one thing, it could be longer, it could be more dramatic, and it could be more cinematic to make it an overall better experience for everyone involved. And also, just a side note before I move on to my next topic, I also do think, in terms of the girlfriend situation also, I specifically, after playing NBA 2K21 Next Gen, I want to see Junior with a sideline reporting girlfriend. So that's just to say, maybe, and especially NBA 2K22 now even seems to be kind of, hinting toward that, because, based on the trailer, when the trailer dropped for NBA 2K22, they had the guy and I'll get to more of that later, but they had the guy with the trophy in the house and the kids. To me, it would be cool if they even gave him a girlfriend once again. Like I said earlier, once he hit the NBA, it could be a sideline reporter, it could be someone close to the business. Somebody close to the business. It could be someone who's sitting for the game. Something like that. And 2K is known for playing with ideas like that. So I think it would be a cool thing to even just, and they would even make it simpler. It would be cool to not have her be the soccer player's time who runs off to Canada. It would be a cool thing to have her be right there, somebody who honestly, like the sideline reporter Alex in NBA NBA 2K21 Next Gen, have her be this heckling journalist lady who had a crush on the NBA baller. So I think that would even make for an interesting and unique storyline also in terms of that, in terms of the relationship aspect. Now, and of course, in NBA 2K21, there was an emphasis, a noticeable emphasis on the sideline reporting and the reporters and all the behind the scenes backstage aspects of the NBA lifestyle. So I think given that, they should definitely that should encourage 2K and Visual Concepts to want to continue to create these dynamic characters, but also make it more drawn out, make it more cinematic, make it longer in terms of length. So that's just my suggestion in terms of my career. Now we're gonna move on to gameplay things. I feel like in terms of the gameplay, there could be, more, and there could always be new and improved animations and celebrations and in the whole entirety of the gameplay and the graphics. Of course, graphics are always a big deal every year, and they're always great, just like this year. But for example, one of the big improvements in NBA 2K21 Next Gen last year, when they first dropped Next Gen, one of the improvements that the 2K team said that they made was an update to the bowl experience. And bowl experience meaning, the arena experience. It really does, and you can tell the difference, a drastic difference, even a significant difference between 2K21 Next Gen's arena and the arena bowl of the 2K current gen. And it really was an update. I was proud to say, and I'm proud to say that I was proud to see that. I can say for myself that I noticed the difference in the bowl when I saw it for myself. So they have this thing now where you can walk out to the court, you run out to the court, and you have the fans waving at you now, and it's more vivid, it's more detail oriented. It's certainly more detail oriented. They're holding iPhones now and taking pictures of Junior or of course the character that runs out to the court. So they're taking pictures of him and they're calling his name. Now, with that being said, it's just a minor improvement. What I think would be done, what I would like to see being done, instead of just like running out, I would like to see him walk out and and stop and sign autographs with the fans, just like the NBA ballers do in real life. To be honest, especially during that pregame shoot around, the ballers don't just run out from. When it comes to game time, they run out. But when it's time to, really come, there's not just the shoot around aspect though before the game starts, right? There is a pregame activity where players shoot around themselves, hours before a tip off, and they are seen, greeting fans and signing autographs and signing their shoes and giving away that. I think that would be a cool thing to incorporate in NBA 2K at some point, and especially a video game like NBA 2K, they can pull it off because it would just be a cool and really unique experience for all those involved in 2K and knowing how creative 2K can get. So in terms of the bowl experience even too, now I think it would be cool to have a player walk out and be able to sign an autograph because that is a huge experience. That is a huge part of the bowl experience. Even to have them stop and take a picture, take the selfie. I would love to see a cutscene. And of course, I haven't played NBA 2K22 yet, so I don't know if it's in there. But fingers crossed, I am hoping that it's in there. And this goes back to the point of my video. This is something I would like to see now in NBA 2K22 and future editions of the NBA 2K video game in the coming years, in the upcoming future. I would like to see a cutscene where, the character, your MyPlayer stops and takes a picture, takes a selfie with the fans. I would like to see more interaction between that and the fans, and of course, that would even go into the social media aspects of NBA 2K. You can, I would like to see the MyPlayer interact a little bit more, respond even to some of the tweets, when you scroll on the social media feed. I would like to see a thing where you can even maybe be able to type out a tweet, on your video game in response to some of the criticism. So that would make the video game extremely more realistic, and of course that may be coming, sometime in the future down the line, but it's something that certainly could be and should be working on 2K's brains, at this point in time. Another thing in terms of animations and gameplay, in terms of the pregame, also the pregame shoot around, for example, I would like to be able to choose between whether or not I shoot around or whether or not I can stretch. For example, just like in real life, they do have a shoot around, which is a great thing. And you can actually sit there and throw the ball and shoot the ball, with the click of the right analog button or the square button. But for example, there's also the players, there's shooting players, and then you also see ones that's on the court, stretching. This is what they mean by bowl experience as well. When you first turn to the bowl, in the arena bowl, even in a play now, game, for example, and especially in MyCareer games, you do see see the stretching and shooting around. I would like to be the player stretching sometimes. So basically, what I'm saying is this: I would like to be able to, be able to have the option to shoot around or either stretch during games. And that brings me to other ideas also. I mean, I think there should be other pregame options even. Like, for certain games, you know how you choose your different, for example, in MyCareer, you choose your uniform every game. I think that we should be able to have the option some games to either do, we should be able to choose to shoot around, to do a pregame interview, or to stretch on the court, or even to stay in the locker room and play and stay in the locker room and check messages like they used to do on NBA 2K21. And they cut that out, by the way. The pregame routine of the MyPlayer being in the locker room and checking his messages and looking up his endorsements and his talking to his agent and responding to text messages. And even the cutscenes that used to come along with that. So they did cut that out, and I severely miss that. So that's another thing that 2K needs to bring back. They need to bring back the cutscenes, even something simpler as that. And don't get me wrong, if they cut it out so that they can improve and think of something new, that totally makes sense. But for example, again, I think a big improvement would be if even you could choose, if you could even still keep that, but take out the repetitiveness of it, for example. Like, you don't have to stay in the locker room and check your messages every game. That got boring at some point anyway. So I'm glad that, it's a good idea that they took it out and replaced it with something else, or just took it out altogether. But for example, they absolutely should they should really definitely consider taking it out and putting it and then replacing it with something so much bigger and so much better. Now, with that being said, also, and of course, that even goes into the idea too now of the post-game generic interview. I think there should be a pre-game interview, and especially with the emphasis now on the sideline reporting and the PA announcers now being included in 2K22. Which, by the way, I just want to shout that out. That's one of my absolute favorite aspects of NBA 2K22. Although again, I haven't played my game yet, but of course, when the gameplay news dropped, I really enjoyed the idea of the PA announcers. When you play against the team now, they're all the local announcers. You hear the voices of the local announcers. So I think that is an extremely big improvement and update to 2K, and that is definitely a new thing. Now, that's a great example of a new thing that is happening. So I think that is a cool thing that is happening. Now, with that being said, now I want to move on to other gameplay news. I would like to see now, in terms of the animations, I would like to see more focus on the celebrations and of today's biggest brand stars. For example, Steph Curry's shimmy. I would like to see when Steph Curry hits a jump shot in NBA 2K, for example. This is what I want to see in NBA 2K22. I want to see after he hits that jump shot and he does a shimmy. I want to actually see him do the shimmy. I don't want the generic celebration. Not saying that the celebrations are generic. He does like dance, and they do the point to the head, they do the chef, they do the cooking thing, they do a whole bunch of basketball celebrations, but sometimes it is kind of generic because then they subscribe them to players who aren't doing them. And don't get me wrong, 2K is very good at that type of thing. Their animations are new and improved, they are advanced, so they don't not have the celebrations. But for example, I would like to make it cinematic, is what I'm saying. For example, when Steph Curry, when Damian Lillard hits, that deep range three, when he does, I would like to see him point to his watch and do that Dame time. And even I want it to be, and of course 2K has improved in that. They have included that type of thing, but I want a thing where it's even more dramatic, like they do even in like a real basketball video, like in a real basketball game. Look, when Dame time, when Lillard goes up for that jump shot, he points to his wrist. They show that on camera. So I think that is a huge thing that 2K should even work on. For example, LeBron James is, his powder chalk pregame celebration. I think that 2K should put more emphasis on those type of things, and even and make it more dramatic, make it more cinematic, and especially now where graphics and technology is today, I think it would be a good idea to be able to do that. Now, what I also want to see, and then it goes into other celebrations too, like James Harden's his chef, his cooking, he's stirring it up when he drops it, when he breaks somebody's ankles and he steps back, does that step back and he hits a deep range three right in your face. I think that is something where, for example, that is a perfect example actually. In NBA 2K22, I would like to be able to see James Harden break somebody's ankles, and then they even kind of put a slow motion camera on it, perhaps when something like that happens, and he shoots this three. To me, that would just put an emphasis on the whole basketball culture, and you can even do a replay feature when that happens. And of course, replay is a huge thing part of NBA anyway, especially during contact dunks. But I mean, I would love to see replays on 3-point shots and shooting and all that. And of course, the list could go on. Kevin Durant shooting, especially his scoring, his ability to score should really be highlighted in NBA 2K22 and future 2K video games. Now, that also brings me, of course, to my second point. I think player personalities and team identities should be incorporated in NBA 2K in the video game. I think it would be a good idea to have a thing where you can play, where you can you can become really involved and indulged in the players' personalities. Like, for example, Kawhi Leonard's calm and quiet demeanor. I think that should really be expressed in a cutscene, even in play now. Where he's for example, when the Clippers play, even have him maybe sitting backstage and listening to music quietly, or give a pregame interview with Kawhi Leonard. Even to be honest, when they show the cutscene of the players walking off the bus, they should show him giving this pregame interview and even in game, when the Paul Reed stuff throws rebounds, I think they should highlight his rebounding. I think they should really put the emphasis on what the player's good at. James Harden's step back dribble move. I think they should put KD when he scores the ball, when it switches into the net. They should and Steph Curry and Damian Lillard also when they shoot those threes, when they make threes, they should really emphasize that three ball. And which they do a lot in NBA 2K21 current, because I imagine because Damian Lillard was a cover star, they did do a good job of emphasizing, Dame time, the shot clock, is 3 seconds online, he's probably going to bring that shot. So they do put, 2K does put a lot emphasis. I mean, in terms of the gaming aspect, now in terms of the controls, they do put a lot of attention into like the dribbling and the shot meter and all that. So in terms of the gaming aspect of it, it's good. But I mean, even again, in terms of the story, the whole drama of it, the cinematic experience of it, the graphics even, I think that can continue to evolve, and the animations and the celebrations can continue to get better. And again, like as I was saying, especially when KD scores the ball, they should really put an emphasis an emphasis on when he gets ready to size up. When KD gets ready to size up a defender. I think they should really hone in. They should put a camera and zone in on that and see what he's going to do with it. And of course, as a defender, if you deflect the shot, then you can zone out. But if KD takes you all the way to the basket, they should really put a pause there, and do that, and do that for the stars, of course, when they get ready to size you up. So and that's just to say too, even in terms of the celebration, like I said, LeBron James's chalk celebration, his powder celebration. The Dikembe Mutombo's celebration now, for example, in terms of the past and present legends also. Let's say you're running with the classic teams in a play now situation, you're running with the All NBA teams. If I'm playing with the Philadelphia 76ers, I would want Dikembe Mutombo, his finger wave. I would, when he says no, when he blocks the shot, I want that emphasized. I want the block on the shot to even, have some type of, cinematic feature. And again, especially where 2K is now with the animations, and they do they are going that route with it. So I would like to see more of an emphasis on that type of celebration, especially. And again, in terms of player personalities, also, Russell Westbrook, for example, he's in contrast to Kawhi Leonard's quiet and calm demeanor. He's a more expressive player. So he's a perfect example of what I mean by animations and celebrations. It would be cool to see more emphasis on his whole demeanor in the NBA. I mean, you can incorporate that in game with the celebrations. When he's running, when Russell Westbrook is running full speed at you, full court down the court, be a triple double machine. They should even give him a bonus or boost on triple doubles in the video game. And of course, there's the rating is the rating. I'm pretty sure Russell Westbrook's rating is where it is, and he plays like Russell Westbrook, for example. But for example, I mean, there should be a real boost to maybe even, if he's playing a certain team that night, he's playing a certain opponent, they should even, 2K should even find ways to kind of highlight that to a certain degree where it does kind of mimic, the real life aspect of the NBA. And then not just in terms of triple doubles, but now we're talking in terms of even his personality. I think Russell Westbrook sometimes, when the Lakers are playing, even in play now, and even especially this will be good for MyCareer also. If whether you're on the Lakers or even if you're playing against the Lakers. And when you're playing against the Lakers, you should be able to or Russell Westbrook should be able to, there should be a real cool, pregame interview where he's walking in, even through the tunnel, he's kind of walking by himself or something, like give him some type of a swagger that lets us know that's Russell Westbrook, so that's something that I think 2K should incorporate. And again, team identities now, I think they should incorporate it. Or even back to one more thing on player personalities, you also have, personalities like Kyrie Irving, for example, who's a basketball personality who is very vocal on social issues, and he has in more recent years, especially this past year, especially this past NBA season. So I think Kyrie Irving, they should really put an emphasis, or even find a way to just incorporate that type of personality into the game of NBA 2K. Even make him, maybe even make note of it. When you scan, when you go to the settings and you go to the roster settings in 2K and you look at the player's card, you find out like what type of build they have. Whether they're a scoring machine, two-way slashing playmaker, or an offensive threat shot creator. I think that you really should. I think when it says mood, that right there for the Kyrie Irving should say vocal or something. It should say social justice athlete. That type of thing. When for Westbrook, expressive. Of course, they already do expressive and well fatigued and well rested and stuff like that, or happy. Yeah, they do that type of thing. But I think really you should even like put some swagger to it. And now that brings me to my point about team identities. I think a really good idea, and even if they just make note of it, and this is what I'm actually saying, they should put a tagline under the team names now, and not just like player ratings. I mean, their team ratings even. They should do a thing where you give the team the identity, and they should be able to even play according to the identity. And of course, now it is a video game. You want to be able to control some aspect of your gaming. Like for example, what if I am playing the Lakers, but I don't want the Lakers to win? So even though they are a championship team, I don't want them to win. But for example, again, though, even in 2K, they are good in terms of the advanced controls. In terms of that, you can play on different levels. You can play on Hall of Fame mode. So that in itself shows you how competitive of a game it is already. Even the advanced controls, from having to move the left analog stick this way, having to move the dribble stick this way in order to do this type of layup. I think 2K could really do a thing where they make a team, even be able to play like the real life team. Like for example, when you walk to the Staples Center, make it seem like the Staples Center. When you walk into Fiserv Forum, make it seem like Fiserv Forum. So that's another thing that even 2K, and of course, it's probably what they're leaning toward when they're doing, with their PA announcers upgrade to the game. So I think that's a really good addition to it, to make it seem like the team's arena a little bit more, instead of like this generic, 2K game, I'm getting ready to play a play now game. And again, what I mean by team identities, back to that now, is for example, when you go into play now, you switch and you scroll through all the teams. I think that for the Lakers, it should say championship team. And when you get ready to play the Brooklyn Nets, for example, under the Brooklyn Nets, it should have an asterisk. The tagline says, super team, or big three or something like that. Or if they have a big on their bench, if they have a really cool bench player on their team, role player like Bruce Brown, for example, if he's really good, say, put a star, say, beware or something, role player, just something that to be honest, that enhances the game in that way, even if it's just a tagline. And for example, now we're talking, when we play the Milwaukee Bucks, for example, it would be a cool thing if when we played the Bucks, you could say superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo, or big three Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday. Especially for the Bucks too. Now I can say championship team, of course, because they won the championship in the 2021 finals. So Bucks just won a championship. So go Bucks, go! By the way, so I do think that it would be an important thing to do something like that. Also, now, in terms of identities and all that, I do think that they should also just emphasize coaching personalities also. Like, for example, I think, and 2K does a great job of now, like, even especially during timeouts where they zone in on the huddles now of the team, and you can see the coach, laying out his game plan. You can even see the X's and O's on the clipboard in NBA 2K. So I think that's a cool thing. But what I would really like to see in NBA 2K22, especially the upcoming, since I have not opened mine yet, what I would love, and fingers crossed, what I'd love to see is like more emphasis on the sideline, even during the NBA game. I would love to see the before you do the inbound pass, I would love to see a thing where they even do a cut, like a small cut scene type animation thing where you cut to the bench and you see a coach walking across the sideline, for example. I would love to see a thing where they really zone in on the coaching personalities, whether it be walking down the sideline or even giving a pregame interview, or especially during halftime. Now I think it would be a cool thing now to cut out the halftime report, TNT report during every game. I think it would be cool to sometimes go inside the locker rooms and do a cut scene where the coach is huddling up the team and running down the game plan for the second half. And even doing pregame and postgame interviews also, which they do the postgame interview, but I think even a pregame interview with the coach, especially the coach, he can give his rundown of what's to come with tonight's game, and they can even do that in the locker room scene. So I think that would be a really cool thing to do in NBA 2K in terms of team identities and animations and player personalities and coaching personalities and whatnot. And then, of course, one last thing now in terms of my last point now in terms of the gameplay, I would like to see the more drawn out tunnel walk. And what I mean by tunnel walk, of course, when you play a play now game, even in my career game, at the beginning of a game in NBA 2K, they do show the part, the team getting off the team bus. But what I would like to do is like have an actual, tunnel walk that even kind of mirrors, the real life aspect of the NBA. When they get ready to play a basketball game, before every game, they do the tunnel walk where they show the basketball players arriving for each game. They show them individually even, with their outfits, and then they put an emphasis on what the NBA players are wearing for the game. So what I would like to see in 2K even, perhaps if they could do that, 2K and Visual Concepts, of course, they would have to work through that and really try to create this real cinematic experience. Where they could continue to 2K is very good at doing that anyway, where they can continue to try to mirror, the real life aspects of the 2K of the NBA lifestyle in terms of the tunnel walk. So for example, I would love to see Kelly Oubre Jr. for example, he's Tsunami Papi. I would love to see him with the tattoos and style and all that. You do have NBA personalities like that, for example, who show up and they and they come up, they can show up excited to play with their clothes and their and the whole fashion and the culture of the NBA is something that is extremely important. So I think it would be cool to see those type of personalities. Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, even it would be cool to see him walk to being shown sometimes, and even in a play now game, and especially in my career, where they can show up to the game and they can incorporate fashion. They can really get off the team bus, but you can show them individually walking into the locker room with their different clothes on. And again, that's just to say, again, you do have the scene now where they are getting off the team bus, but I do think that 2K can do a better job of emphasizing that, even making that a cinematic type of, my career even cutscene experience, even in play now, before the games, because that does now, go back to even improving the bowl experience. And which is what the big improvements are kind of heading toward anyway. And so now, with all that being said, I would like to say that I'm on my second to last point. Now I'm going to talk about the city now, and this is I really have really minor things to say about the city in NBA 2K, because the city is something that I enjoy. I thoroughly enjoy. The introduction of it in NBA 2K21. With the affiliations and the different, and the whole idea of the neighborhood changing into this real city now. And especially in NBA 2K22, it's a more luxurious, even real life city, like life